This week on The Watchman, 2018 is now in the books. It goes down in history as the 70-year anniversary of Israel's miraculous rebirth as a nation, and the year the United States moved its embassy to Jerusalem.
The embassy of the most powerful nation on earth, our greatest ally, the United States of America. Today, its embassy opened here.
We're looking back at the good and the bad from 2018 and what lies ahead in 2019. Fasten your seatbelts and get ready. We live in Bible times. It's The Watchman. It's Christians United for Israel only on TBN. And welcome to The Watchman. We start this week with a very big announcement. Christians United for Israel has officially reached 5 million members. Folks, that means that 5 million followers of Jesus are now mobilized, activated, and ready to stand with Israel and the Jewish people at a moment's notice for such a time as this. Now, heading into this year, CUFI was already America's largest pro-Israel organization. But in the last 10 months of 2018, we saw unprecedented growth. During that span alone, we gained 1 million new members. 1 million in just 10 months. Why is this happening? Why is God raising CUFI up and expanding our territory now more than ever before? I've got some thoughts on that, and I'll share them with you later in the show. But in the meantime, we're going to spend this final Watchman show of 2018 recapping the year that was and looking ahead to 2019. Now, passing the 5 million member mark was obviously a great accomplishment, but 2018 also saw CUFI spearhead some big victories on the diplomatic front. We led on the Taylor Force Act, which holds the Palestinian Authority accountable for its support of terrorism. That bill was signed into law by President Trump. The president also pulled America out of that disastrous Iran nuclear deal, a move we'd lobbied for years. And then there was the biggest move of them all. May 14th, 2018 is a date that will go down in history as the United States moved its embassy to Jerusalem. CUFI's founder and chairman, Pastor John Hagee, was instrumental in making this move happen, and myself and members of our CUFI team joined him in Jerusalem as he delivered a stirring benediction to close the ceremony. Here's some of the highlights from that historic day.
Today we officially opened the United States Embassy in Jerusalem. Congratulations. It's been a long time coming.
Today's historic event is attributed to the vision, the courage, and the moral clarity of one person to whom we owe an enormous and eternal debt of gratitude, President Donald J. Trump.
By moving our embassy to Jerusalem, we have shown the world once again that the United States can be trusted. We stand with our friends and our allies, and above all else, we've shown that the United States of America will do what's right, and so we have.
What a glorious day. Remember this moment. This is history. Today, the embassy of the most powerful nation on earth, our greatest ally, the United States of America. Today, its embassy opened here.
Let the word go forth from Jerusalem today that Israel lives. Shout it from the housetops. that Israel lives. Let every Islamic terrorist hear this message: Israel lives. Let it be heard in the halls of the United Nations: Israel lives. Let it echo down the marble halls of the presidential palace in Iran: Israel lives. Let it be known to all men that Israel lives, because he that keepeth Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps.
Folks, I was honored to be in attendance at the ceremony. It's an experience I'll always cherish. And what made it even sweeter was that 2018 marked the 70th anniversary of Israel's miraculous rebirth as a nation. Great things are happening. Israel is growing more and more influential with incredible innovations in science, medicine, and high tech. And Israel is leading the way in humanitarian work around the world. It's also now forming relationships with Muslim nations like Oman, the United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, and Chad. Folks, this would have been unthinkable not too long ago. But all of these Muslim nations realize that the looming danger in the Middle East is not Israel, but Iran. In 2018, Iran and its proxies, led by Hezbollah and Hamas, continue to wreak havoc in Syria, Gaza, and beyond. And our Watchman team was there on the ground to cover it every step of the way. Take a look. We are here on the Israel-Syria border at a live fire drill with the Israel Defense Forces. We're here with Jonathan, platoon commander of the elite Hatsan Kanim paratrooper unit here in Israel. Jonathan, thanks so much for joining us, first of all.
Thank you for coming.
So, Jonathan, it looks like you're prepared here with this drill to prepare not only for maybe urban warfare, but also in the open field, ambushes, a little bit of everything, right?
Right. Our enemy can catch us everywhere. Not only in the close area, but in the wild. You can catch us in ambushes, like you said, and we need to be prepared for it.
Well, Avi, we are standing on top of a watchtower just a half a mile from Gaza, and there's some very interesting, I would say, positive activity going on here right now. We talked earlier about those terror tunnels being dug into communities like this where we're standing right now, but Israel is fighting back against those tunnels. What do we see here right now, and what is Israel doing to negate that tunnel threat?
In the last couple of years, one of the major weapons, sort of speaking, developed by the Islamic Jihad in Gaza Strip, by Hamas, is the intrusive tunnels. Taking advantage of the fact that the soil here is very soft, you could scoop the soil, roughly speaking, they have been digging tunnels crossing from the Gaza territory into the Israeli territory.
The laws that pertain to almost everybody in life are that you make your choices and you're held accountable for your choices. That rule, that kind of fundamental rule of physics, has not really been applied to the Palestinians over the last 50 or so years. You know, we give them money and they act in ways that are unhelpful, in some cases reprehensible, and certainly not conducive to making peace with the Israelis. The Palestinian conduct over the last, not under the Trump administration, but over the last 50 years, has not been of a nature that merits financial aid. It's really as simple as that. The United States is not giving out money to people that pay stipends to terrorists and their families.
This has been going on for a few weeks now, kind of leading up to this moment where Iran struck directly in a hostile act against Israeli territory. Tell us about what went down here less than 24 hours ago.
This time, the Iranians attacked us directly by firing 20 rockets from inside Syria towards Israeli positions on the Golan Heights. Luckily, no casualties in Israel. 4 of the rockets were intercepted by the Iron Dome system, and the rest fell short. So at the end of that event, before we retaliated, the Iranians had in fact failed with their attempt to strike at Israel, which is a great thing. We then felt that it was appropriate and that the message needed to be delivered to the Iranians that this was totally intolerable from an Israeli perspective.
An act of war, I mean.
An act of war, an aggression by Iran against Israel, and we felt that a strong message needed to be delivered. We decided to strike 70 military targets that belong to Iran and that are part of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard's Quds Force deployment inside Iran. We struck those targets, we struck them well.
The Obama-Iran nuclear deal, I think, was the most catastrophic national security agreement in decades. The single most important step on the national security front that President Trump has made is pulling out of the Iran nuclear deal. That deal sent billions of dollars to the world's leading state sponsor of terrorism. They have spent massive amounts of money murdering Americans, murdering Israelis, murdering our allies.
Folks, we're at this bomb shelter in Sderot. We just had an alarm go off, a siren warning that Hamas rockets were on their way. Thankfully, they did not land. But this is what the people of southern Israel and cities like Sderot live with every day. You have less than 15 seconds to get to one of these bomb shelters. Our team ran in here along with several other people. Thankfully, it looks like the alert has passed, but this is reality here in southern Israel, in Sderot.
The bottom line is that the people who want to destroy Israel want to destroy us. And if we blink when it comes to Israel, we're next. So it's in our national security interest to stand with Israel on all fronts. More aid, more support. They have the largest tech economy outside of Silicon Valley. They're great trading partners. But there's a historic moment here where the Arabs are more afraid of Iran than they are Israel. And if you had strong American leadership, you could form a coalition between the Arabs and the Israelis and the United States to really push back against Iranian expansion and radical Sunni Islam like ISIS. And I see the president building that coalition.
Now, I'll have some more thoughts on the collision course between Israel and Iran a bit later in the show. But up next, we're bringing your Bible to life as we share some of our favorite Watchman biblical archaeology stories of 2018. This is exciting stuff. Don't move.
Every year, the Christians United for Israel Washington Summit gets bigger, better, and more powerful.
I have faith that with God's help, and with the men and women gathered here, with all those who cherish Israel, and with President Donald Trump in the White House, the best days for Israel and for America together are yet to come.
What's amazing about Christians United for Israel is not just the power of your voice, it's also the importance of the cause you have dedicated your voice to. Standing up against this global pressure campaign on Israel and the Jewish people goes to the heart of our friendship and the heart of America. And the tip of the spear is Christians United for Israel.
Join Pastor Hagee and top leaders from Israel and America this July for the 2019 CUFI Washington Summit. Register now at www.cufi.org/summit.
And welcome back to this very special Watchman Year in Review show. Well, we say it all the time. The more the world denies Israel's claim to the land, the more Israeli archaeologists are making amazing finds that prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that Israel is and has always been the God-given homeland of the Jewish people. This year was no exception. Here are some of my favorite biblical archaeology and history stories of 2018, straight from the Holy Land. Well, Danny, we are here. We are on top of Mukawar, the spot where John the Baptist was imprisoned, was beheaded. Amazing, amazing biblical history, central role in the history of Christianity. But let's take it to more recent history first. When was this spot discovered and excavated?
Yeah, so some 30 years after John the Baptist is beheaded here, Jewish rebels take over the place and the Romans will conquer it. To this day, one can see remains of the Roman siege.
Archaeologists believe perhaps this whole area where we're standing right now, this became the ritual worship area for King David himself.
King David's private prayer space.
That's right. the olive oil for the oil libations, the animal sacrifices on the altar. And here we have this prayer altar over here. And perhaps somewhere in this vicinity of where we're standing, perhaps was the Ark of the Covenant until it was moved into the temple itself.
This market today is the biggest market in Israel. More than 400 shops and stores. You see it in the best day to see it, Friday. But erase everything, okay? 120, 30 years ago, mid the 80s of the 19th century, this was an empty area here, okay? The old city is like half an hour from here, over there. There's few villages in the entrance of Jerusalem today, and the first neighborhood built outside of the city wall built in this area.
Jerusalem is destroyed and the Romans rename it. They rename Jerusalem Aelia Capitolina.
That's right. And what they do here is they remove the street, which would have been at this level. They dig down and they put in this circular building that you can see right here. This is the first theater or theater-like structure exposed in Jerusalem after 150 years of archaeological excavations.
This is the site where it's believed the tabernacle and within it, the Ark of the Covenant once stood. Tell us what this place looked like 3,000 years ago.
That's one of the special things about Shiloh. Jerusalem looks nothing today like it looked thousands of years ago. But if you look around the hills right here, this looks pretty similar to the way it looked to people coming here to the tabernacle. And if you remember, there were maybe 2 million people coming here together. It was a small city. People came here, sitting around in all the hills, eating their sacrifice after bringing it to the tabernacle. This is the place, and this is what it looked like.
This is the very room where Israel was miraculously reborn as a nation in 1948. History was made as David Ben-Gurion, the founding father of the modern state of Israel, stood at that very podium behind me and declared to the world that yes, the Jewish people were back. They were once again a nation in their ancestral homeland. This is Israel's 70th anniversary celebration, and today you will get the inside story from the place where it all began.
Jerusalem today, Jerusalem forever, it is the epicenter of the Word of God. It is the shoreline of eternity. It's something that every believer must grasp. No city is like Jerusalem.
We told you it was going to be a celebration here on Jerusalem Day. It's a celebration on Jerusalem Day. Okay. Folks, as you can see from those stories, we literally have a front row seat today as Bible prophecy is being fulfilled before our very eyes. Well, I had a front row seat recently at the second annual Christian Media Summit in Jerusalem, and I used it to ask Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu a very important question. Find out what I asked and how the Prime Minister responded after the break. Stick around.
In 2017, CUFI began speaking out publicly and behind closed doors to urge the White House to fulfill the promise made by every president for the last 2 decades. Move the U.S. Embassy to the capital of Israel, Jerusalem. In 2018, we witnessed history made in large part because you spoke out. On May 14, 2018, 70 years after Israel's rebirth as a modern nation, Pastor John Hagee prayed over the opening ceremony for the new Jerusalem Embassy. Today, for your gift of any amount to support CUFI's ongoing work to defend and bless the Jewish state, we will send you this limited edition commemorative coin in honor of how your voice helped move the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem. The President heard you, the world heard you, the Jewish people heard you, and Israel's enemies heard you. Visit our website at www.cufi.org/coin and ensure you receive a reminder of the miraculous role you played in making history.
And welcome back to this very special Watchman Year in Review show. One of my personal highlights of 2018 was being invited to speak at the second annual Christian Media Summit in Jerusalem. Christian journalists and media personalities from around the world gathered at this great event, which was organized by Israel's government press office. I had the chance to speak on a panel about Gaza and to ask Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu about one of the most important threats facing Israel and the world today. Take a look. Mr. Prime Minister, Erick Stakelbeck, TBN and Christians United for Israel, CUFI. You mentioned earlier the Iranian threat to Israel, which we all know very well. Can you talk a bit more about the Iranian threat to the West, to America, to France? We just had an assassination plot that France broke up, but Iran refers to America as the Great Satan. Can you talk more about that threat to the West posed by the Iranian regime?
Well, just a few weeks ago, they tried to arrange a terrorist plot, not only in Europe, they tried to do so in the United States. They were prevented. Iran itself, Iran's state apparatus, when they look at the world and they look at the Middle East, they say, what's the toughest knot to crack? It's Israel. But we are considered in their minds, as you say, the small Satan. Your America is the great Satan. I hope I don't embarrass my European friends and I say, you're a middle-sized Satan. But in fact, this is what Iran plans to do. And the worst thing about it is that they actually plan to achieve this with a nuclear arsenal that the horrible Iran deal would have given them. It would have given them access to having nuclear weapons. It didn't deal at all with ballistic missiles, so they'd have the means to deliver these nuclear weapons to a theater near you in the United States or anywhere else. Okay? I opposed that deal from the start. I went to the U.S. Congress because this deal threatened the future of the state of Israel. It was my obligation to defend the Jewish state because history and God will not give us another opportunity. This is it. But I also think that it threatens the Middle East and the entire world. It definitely threatens the great Satan, the United States. They chanted death to America. Death to Israel too, but death to America. Don't give these people nuclear weapons. Don't let them form an empire. Don't give them ballistic missiles. Don't give them the ammunition to destroy us. And I think that this is something that is important for every American. I think it's important for the entire world.
Thanks again to Nitzan Chen and the entire team at Israel's government press office for organizing that great event. Well, up next, my final thoughts on 2018 and what lies ahead in 2019. Fasten your seatbelts. Also, I'll share why I believe CUFI is experiencing such tremendous growth right now. Don't move.
In spring 2019, join Holocaust survivor and historian Irving Roth on a once-in-a-lifetime remembrance tour through Poland. His story of loss, survival, and hope will bring the pages of history to life as you walk through the streets of the infamous Warsaw Ghetto, the silent barracks of Nazi death camps like the one where Irving slept at Auschwitz, and the memorials to the heroes who risked their lives to rescue their Jewish neighbors from Hitler's evil plan. You'll be inspired and challenged to put your faith into action. You'll have the opportunity to interact with the local Polish Jewish community and meet with the daughter of a famous hero of the Holocaust, one of the righteous among the nations honored by the State of Israel. Take advantage of this rare opportunity to walk with and learn from Irving Roth as he takes you on a journey of his memories of life before, during, and after the Holocaust. To register for this historic trip to Poland with CUFI and Irving Roth, go to the CUFI website and sign up today.
And welcome back. We're wrapping up this special Watchman Year in Review show, and now that 2018 is in the books, it's time to look ahead to 2019. What can we expect in the year to come? Number one, look for the collision course between Israel and Iran's proxies to intensify. As 2018 came to a close, Israel uncovered attack tunnels dug by Hezbollah underneath the Israel-Lebanon border. Now, Hezbollah has threatened that in the next war with Israel, they'll look to capture towns in Israel's north. So, these tunnels on the Lebanon border are a very dangerous escalation. At the same time, Iran and Hezbollah refuse to leave Syria, and they're working to use it as a forward base against Israel. Of course, Russia and Turkey are also in Syria. Russia is openly aligned with Israel's enemies like Iran, and Turkey's President Erdogan is viciously anti-Israel and increasingly hostile to the West. So, Israel has a powder keg on its northern border. And then there's the Palestinians. Whether cheering on deadly shootings and stabbings against Jews in broad daylight, or Hamas continuing to escalate its terror war out of Gaza, Palestinian leaders show no signs of wanting peace. Folks, Israel is accomplishing incredible things. God's land is thriving, but the barbarians are at the gates. In some cases, they're already inside them. A major regional war is looming in the Middle East, and that's why I believe God is growing Kufi so rapidly at this moment in history. It's easy to support Israel when things are quiet, but what about when the rockets are falling and the global media is piling on, blaming Israel and not the terrorist? That is when lovers of Zion will really earn their keep. And that's why God Almighty has expanded our numbers at Kufi so rapidly to 5 million members today. Whatever happens in 2019, we will be ready to stand up and speak out for Zion's sake. So, join our movement and be at the forefront of what God is doing in His land today. Kufi is a mighty move of God, and in 2019, it will only continue to grow. Well, thanks so much for joining us here on The Watchman Show in 2018. Happy New Year, and we look forward to bringing you more of the cutting-edge truth in 2019. Until then, God bless you, and remember, never hold your peace.